Hello there, welcome back to Creative Crochet with Abigail, where we unravel the mystery of crochet. Today, we will be diving into the world of tops. Now, we have different kinds of tops. Today, we'll be looking at the crochet tank top. In case you do not know what a crochet tank top looks like, here is what you can expect.
So we'll start by discussing the materials you'll need. Afterwards, I'm going to take you and guide you step by step on how to make your very own crochet tank top. So grab your hook and let's get started. For this project, I'll use a yarn, crochet hook. I'm using 4.0 mm hook. A measuring tape is very important. Our stitch counter to count our stitches accurately, our stitch marker, and of course a pair of scissors. The basic measurements to take will have a perfectly fitting crochet tank top are the bust, the under bust circumference, the bust length, the bust width, the armhole circumference, the front half length, the nipple to under bust, the waist circumference. On the screen, you see a sample measurement we'll be using to work. With this sample measurement, you will mark it out on a drawing like you see on the screen. So, using your measurement, you make a sketch of the crochet tank top and place the measurement accordingly.
So of course we'll start with our slip knot, and then we're going to make 3 inches chain, and that's going to be 10 chains because that's the measurement from our nipple point to our under bust. Now we're going to be working with a half double stitch, and the reason why I'm using the half double stitch is because this is the bust area, and I usually like using a stitch that is not very revealing. So I'm using half double stitch, and that's what we're going to do till we get to the end of that row. And then when we get to the end of that row, I'll tell you what we'll do next. So we're working down, and now we have one stitch left. In that last hole, we're going to make this time 2 half double crochet stitches. We'll chain 2 and then make another 2 half double crochet stitches in the same hole. 2 half double crochet stitches, make 2 chains, and then 2 additional half double crochet stitches in the same hole. So at this point, it takes us to the other part or end of our row. So we start working downwards that way, and while doing that, we incorporate the loose end we see to give our work a neat finishing. So we keep working down till we get to the end of that row. We're working the opposite angle till we get to the end of that row. We'll continue our half double stitch. Now we've gotten to the end of that row, as you can see. So we are about to make progress. We'll make our 2 chains because it's a half double stitch, and this time we'll turn going backwards on that same row using our half double crochet stitch. So it's more or less like we're working a U. Okay, we're working a U. We walk to the edge, make our 2 half double crochet stitches, chain 2 half double crochet stitches, work in the opposite axis to the end, and then we turn and go back. So we are at this middle point again. Remember, we make 2 half double crochet stitches, 1, 2, and now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then another 2 half double crochet stitches, 1, 2, all in the same hole, and then we continue using a half double crochet stitch till we get to the end of that row. So at this point we've gotten to the end of the row, and we're going to measure now to see how far we have gone. So far for our length we've gotten a little above 3 inches, and for our width we've gotten just 1.5 inch. Now from our measurement, our bust length is supposed to give us 7 inches and our bust width is supposed to give us 6 inches. So we'll keep working end to end until we have 7 inches length by 6. So we have been able to work end to end for quite some time. It's time to take measurement to see if we are on track. Let's measure our bust length. We're supposed to have 7 inches bust length, and so far we've been able to have from our measurement 7 inches on the dot, so we are accurate. For our bust width, we are supposed to have 6 inches. Now let's measure that and see if we're able to get that while working. And yes, we were able to hit the mark, so we have 6 inches width, 7 inches length. At this point we're going to make a second of this for the 2 busts for our crochet tank top. So that's what we're going to do next, a second of this bustier for our crochet tank top. Let's proceed. So now, as you can see, we have both bustiers ready, and each of these bustiers width is 6 inches. Now remember, our under bust measurement was 32 inches, so we'll have to calculate to know how many inches width we would make for the left hand side and the right hand side of our top. Alright, so we have 6 inches for each of the bustiers. That's giving a total of 12 inches. Now we want to remember that in between each of the bustiers there will be a 1 inch gap, okay, where we are going to work on. That gives us a total of 13 inches. Now for the back, since it's a lace back, we will give 2 inches at the back for the lace. That gives us a total of 15. Now if we minus 15 from the 32, which is our under bust circumference, we will have 17 left, 17 inches left. Now dividing that 17 inches by 2, 1 for the left hand side, 1 for the right hand side, will give us 8.5 inches. For the sake of elasticity, remember we're working with a yarn that stretches, so we're going to work 8 inches to the left and 8 inches to the right. So for our left side of the bustier to the back, we'll work 8 inches, and we'll also do the same thing for the right hand side, and that will give us a very perfect fitting according to the measurement we are working with. So it's 8 inches to the left, 8 inches to the right. So we make an 8 inches chain for the right hand side of our crochet top, and then we proceed with our half double crochet stitches. Remember, we're working with half double crochet stitches, so we'll make our half double crochet stitches on that chain, that 8 inches chain, from the beginning to the end. So you just keep working down, as you can see in the video, from the beginning to the end of that 8 inches chain. And then when we get to the end, we're going to do something. Just watch. We're going to attach it to one of our bustiers, preferably the right bustier, the bustier for the right side of the bust. That's where we're going to attach this stitch. Now, as you can see, we've worked down to the end of that row, so we're going to attach it to the right bustier, and we are attaching still using our half double crochet stitch. So we just wrap it, insert it in the first hole of our bustier, and then work the half double stitch just like that, and we keep working down till we get to the end of that bustier using the half double crochet stitch. So you just continue working your half double crochet stitch accordingly. Please do not skip any stitch, otherwise you'll have the wrong work. Do not skip any stitch, and do not make more than one half double crochet stitch in each hole, otherwise you'll have an excess. When you get to the end of your bustier, when you've worked your half double crochet to the end of your bustier, you get the second bustier, and you simply continue your half double crochet stitch on it. There will be a gap in between the bustiers. Do not allow that to bother you. It is expected to be there, because remember, we will have a 1 inch gap between these two bustiers. So let's proceed. So now at this point, what we're going to be doing is working our half double crochet stitch till the end of that bustier. So that's what we're doing. Make sure you work in each stitch to the end of that bustier. Now when we get to the end of that row, we make a slip knot, and then we'll chain up to 8 inches for the other side of our top. marching up to 8 inches and then walk down back using a half double crochet stitch. Alright, so we'll walk with our half double crochet stitch down to that point at the end. So this is us walking with our half double crochet stitch through the 8 inches chain till we get to the end. And when we get to the end, what we do is we make a slip stitch just at that ending part to complete our first row, and then we continue with our half double crochet stitch up to the end of that row. We come back and then we also walk to the other side of the top, walk down to the end of that row, take our half double crochet stitch right back to this point, and then walk down to the 8 inches and then back and slip stitch. So let's proceed with that. So now we've crocheted to the end of this row. We're going back to our 8 inches, back and forth, half double crochet stitch, and then when we get to the end, when we return back, we slip stitch. So that's basically the pattern we're going to be working with. Half double crochet stitch from here to the end, and then we return back with our half double crochet stitch still, walk down our 8 inches half double crochet stitch to the end and slip stitch. So now we have gotten the desired length we want. We will then slip stitch and end our stitch. We need the scissors to cut the rope. Now remember, the length we've gotten is the front half length, which is 18 inches. Okay, so we've gotten up to 18 inches. For the sake of elasticity, we may work up 17 inches, and then we'll finish off by using our finishing or darning needle to sew in the loose end. So now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be working upwards to close up the armhole, upwards until we get to a little above our nipple point. Alright, so we're going left, right, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, up to a little above our nipple point. Now as you can see, we've done just that on one side of our crochet top. So now we'll just finish that last row and then walk downwards until we get to the end. We'll walk the last row there down, go upwards, and then do the same thing on this other side of our crochet top, up to a little above the nipple point. So now we've gotten to an edge. we're going to walk down this way, but for us to be able to do that, we'll use the principle of a stitch, 2 chains and another stitch. Now we're going to be using the double crochet stitch for this other part, so we're going to make a half double stitch first, because we started it on this row where we are. A half double stitch there, and then we'll chain 2 times, and then we'll make 1 double crochet stitch, because that is the new stitch we'll be working on at this other row. So we simply keep working downwards, this time with a double crochet stitch. Now notice how sharp our edge is. That is because we use the principle of 1 stitch, chaining 2 and another stitch at that edge. We keep going downwards with our double crochet stitch until we get to another edge where we'll use the same principle of 1 stitch, chaining 2 and another stitch. Let's get there. So now we're close to another edge where we'll use our edge principle of 1 stitch, chaining 2 and another stitch. But remember, the first stitch we're using is the double crochet stitch. We'll chain 2 and then we'll use a half double crochet stitch, because we are moving to a row of half double crochet stitches. Okay, for the sake of clarity, let's take that again. So we'll put a double crochet stitch in that edge, we'll chain 2 and then we'll make a half double crochet stitch, because we are going into a row of half double crochet stitches. Now let's walk downwards till the end. So now we are on to yet another edge close by. We're still working on our half double stitch, so we'll make 1 half double stitch there, we chain 2 and a double crochet stitch, because now we are going to a layer or a row of double crochet stitches. So well, we keep on going with our double crochet stitch to that edge, and then use half double crochet stitch, walk up to a little above our nipple point. Now we've gotten to yet another edge, we'll make our double crochet stitch, chain 2 and then a half double crochet stitch, because we're coming from a row of double crochet stitches to a row of half double crochet stitches. Yes, now we'll keep working just as we did on the other side of our crochet top. We'll walk up all the way until we get to a little above our nipple point using the half double crochet stitch, and then we'll proceed to the sleeves. Let's just work on that first. Now a little thing you need to take note of is that on this edge we have double crochet stitches. Meanwhile, we're working half double crochet stitches on this row, so we will walk up to the last hole just before the double crochet stitch. We'll walk up to that point with our half double crochet stitch, and then we'll leave that point of our double crochet stitch vacant, and then continue walking upwards until a little above our nipple point. All right, now you may be wondering what the double crochet stitches are for. Well, that's where we'll have our lacing. Remember, at the back there's a lacing, so we need that double crochet stitch there to enable the row pass through easily, unlike a half double crochet stitch. So we'll keep working with our half double crochet stitches upwards until we get a little above our nipple point. So now that we're almost finished with this row, we'll need to work a half double crochet stitch, but we need to make sure that we are in order. So we place the 2 stitches on top, we'll work a half double crochet stitch to the end, and then walk back and then use our double crochet stitch at the edge. Half double crochet stitch here, half double crochet stitch, and the double crochet stitch down to this point, and we slip stitch. Now at this edge we're going to do a half double crochet stitch, 1 half double crochet stitch, chain 2 because it's an edge as usual, and then a double crochet stitch because the row we're going to is a double crochet stitch. Now we'll work a double crochet stitch up to that beginning point, and then we slip stitch. So let's just work it down, our double crochet stitch up to the first double crochet stitch at the point there, and then we slip stitch. And so we slip stitch, all right, and then we cut the yarn at this point because we've completed here, and the next thing we need to do is to make progress to our sleeve. So at this point we are ready to proceed to our round sleeve. So we'll start from the base here using our half double crochet stitch. We'll work from this point upwards until we get to the peak of our bustier, and then make our round sleeve from this point down to a point here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how we'll get that measurement, but just know what we're expected to do, and then we'll come back to the peak. We'll walk down this way, join these 2 bustiers together, walk up back to this other peak of this bustier, make a round sleeve, go back to the peak, and then walk downwards. So at this point we want to make the sleeve circumference, that is from the peak of the bustier down to a point at the back there along this line. So now the question is, how do we know the point at which to attach to get our sleeve circumference? Remember, our armhole we had 18 inches. Now we're not just looking at making the sleeve circumference to fit the armhole, but to go a little to the front and a little to the back. In other words, we take 2 inches to the front and 2 inches to the back, giving us 4 inches. If we add our 4 inches to the 18 inches of the armhole, that will give us 22 inches. So now we want to measure from the peak of our bustier to the depth of our armhole to know what measurements we already have to take, and then minus it from 22 inches. So we'll measure from the peak of the bustier down to the depth of the armhole. Make sure you take that measurement accurately from the peak to the depth of the armhole. Alright, so let's do that. Taking a measurement from the peak to the depth of the armhole gives us 4 inches. Now we have 4 inches here. For the upper part of the armhole of the sleeve, we're going to have 3 inches. 4 inches plus 3 inches is going to give us 7 inches. So we have 7 inches for the front here. We are also going to have 7 inches for the back. 7 plus 7 will give us 14 inches. Now in between the front 7 inches and the back 7 inches, we're going to have 2 inches. So 7 inches plus 7 inches, 14, plus the 2 inches will give us 16 inches. And then for elasticity, we are going to give an additional 2 inches. So we already have 16 inches, 7 inches in front, 7 inches at the back, 2 inches in between both of them, giving us 16 inches. Then 2 more inches for elasticity, that is 18 inches. Now what do we do with this 18 inches? We subtract it from our 22 inches for our sleeve circumference. In other words, 22 minus 18 inches, which gives us 4 inches. So we are going to measure 4 inches from the depth of our armhole. And then at that 4 inches point, we mark it using our stitch marker. We've measured 4 inches on the base of our armhole, 4 inches that way. So we'll walk up the way here, and then we are going to chain 12 inches, because remember we have 3 inches in front, 2 inches in between, and 7 at the back. So that gives us 3 plus 2 plus 7, giving us 12 inches. So we'll chain 12 inches all the way to that point where we used our stitch marker. We'll also mark 4 inches on this other side of our crochet top. So we'll get our stitch marker again. After measuring 4 inches, we get our stitch marker and we place it exactly so that it is 4 inches measured. So now we're going to walk up to the peak of our bustier, walk 12 inches down, use the double crochet stitch back to this tip, and then walk down. Right here we'll keep working our half double crochet stitch until we get to the peak of our bustier. As you can see, we have reached the peak of our bustier. At this point, we're going to chain up to 12 inches so that we can join it at the part where we put our stitch marker. So we're going to chain up to 12 inches and attach it to the point where we put our stitch marker right here. Now we are going to measure to see how far we have gone. We're still chaining up to 12 inches. We get a measuring tape and we measure to see if it's up to 12 inches long. If it is, as you can see, we'll now work on attaching it to the point where we have our stitch marker. Now we're going to work all the way down using a double crochet stitch all the way down till we get to the peak of our bustier. Alright, so watch us do just that. We're working our double crochet stitch in each hole. Now we have worked all the way with our double crochet stitch to the peak of our bustier. What we're going to do now is we're going to make a slip stitch into the peak of our bustier. Into that peak we'll make a slip stitch right there, and then we'll continue working down using a half double crochet stitch. So when you get to the end of that row, we're going to make a single crochet stitch in the hole just under it, a single crochet stitch, and then we'll move to the first hole in the bottom of the other bustier and make a slip knot right there. After doing that, we'll make another slip knot in the next hole of the other bustier. At this point, what we are simply going to do is intertwining the two bustiers. So when we make a slip stitch in the first bustier, we're going to make a half double crochet stitch in the same hole in the other bustier directly facing where we had our slip stitch. Okay, so it's a half double crochet stitch right there, and then we'll make a slip stitch in the next hole on this first bustier. We make a half double crochet stitch in the hole facing it in the other bustier, the hole just opposite it in the other bustier. We make our half double crochet stitch there, and we continue this process up to some stitches to the point at which we stop intertwining the two bustiers, and then we work on the second bustier. So we just keep working in that pattern until we get to the nipple point. All right, so when you get to the nipple point, you know you can now move to the second bustier. We have 2 more stitches to go. I have double crochet stitch there, a slip stitch this other way, another half double crochet stitch, and then a slip stitch in the other hole facing where we had a half double crochet stitch. All right, so we proceed and working on the second bustier upwards till we get to the peak of the bustier. So now we've worked up to the peak of this second bustier. We'll now work a half double crochet stitch on the peak of the bustier, and then we continue working our 12 inches sleeve circumference like we did on the other part, a 12 inches sleeve circumference. And when it's up to 12 inches, we attach it to the point at which we put our stitch marker. For the sake of accuracy, we took note of how many chains we made in the other stitch, and that's 42. So we're simply going to chain up to 42 and then attach it to the point where we put our stitch marker right there. After attaching, we work back upwards using our double crochet stitch till the peak point, and then we work down. While making progress to the last stitches for this top, still working our half double crochet stitch in each hole till we get to the base of the bustier, and then we make a slip knot, we cut our yarn and finish it off using our finishing or darning needle. And voila, we have our crochet tank top ready. As you can see, the holes at this end where we use the double crochet stitch is where we would lace up the back. Okay, so we make a long chain, which is what we use to lace up the back through the double crochet stitches at the edge. Isn't this lovely? What do you think of this? Let me see your comments. But first of all, let's try it on. With this video, I believe you've been able to learn how to make your very own crochet tank top. Especially, you've learned how to make your crochet tank top according to measurements so it fits perfectly. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. It's still Creative Crochet with Abigail. Subscribe, like and follow.